The night was already thick with unease as a group of friends stepped onto cracked cobblestone path that led to the infamous Biltmore Hotel. Known for its grand Victorian architecture and a sordid history wrapped in tragedy, the hotel had long been abandoned, but the locals knew better than to forget its past. The Biltmore had once been a hospital during World War II, a place that had seen the agonizing death of countless soldiers, and in its wake, something sinister had lingered. The group, curious and daring, had decided to stay for the night, armed with nothing but a camera and a vague sense of excitement. What started as an investigation into an old hotel turned into something far worse. Inside, the air was damp, heavy with the smell of mildew and dust. The chandelier overhead swayed slightly, its tarnished gold frame creaking in the stillness. No one spoke for a moment, as if the silence of the hotel pressed down on them. In the distance, the sound of footsteps echoed to the empty hallways, but no one was there. Lexi, the most eager to uncover the truth, adjusted the camera strap around her neck. "Do you guys feel that? Like we're being watched?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The others nodded uneasily, scanning their surroundings. The hotel's history wasn't lost on them. Thousands of people had passed through these doors, some living, some dying, and many believed the dead never truly left. But as they walked deeper into the dim corridors, the eerie feeling didn't come from the dark corners. It was from within the walls themselves. It was as if the very stones were alive, watching. "Let's start in the lobby. Get a feel for the place," Ashton suggested. "Try to keep the tension light." But his voice shook slightly as he turned toward the front desk, which still held remnants of its former grandeur. An old guest book, its pages yellowed and brittle, and a vase of wilting flowers. "Who even leaves flowers here?" he muttered, pushing past the desk. The faint thud of his footsteps echoed too loudly in the cavernous room. As they moved deeper, the group reached what appeared to be the kitchen. The long stainless steel counters were covered in dust and old papers. But it wasn't the state of the room that unsettled them. It was the faint noise in the distance, the sound of someone coughing. Not a soft cough, but a harsh, wet cough that seemed to be coming from the very walls. "I didn't sign up for this," Ash said, his voice trembling. But before anyone could respond, the temperature in the room dropped, an icy gust of air sweeping through the space. "Did you feel that?" Lexi asked, her eyes wide. Ashton nodded, feeling the chill run down his spine. He was beginning to understand why the locals whispered about this place, why they said the spirits never truly left. Suddenly, the coughing sound grew louder, more frantic. The friends turned to each other in confusion, but when they looked back toward the hallway, the temperature dropped even further, and the coughing stopped abruptly. There, at the far end of the hallway, a faint shadow moved. "Did you see that?" Lexi whispered. A small figure darted past, disappearing into the shadowed corridor. "No," Ashton said, his voice cracking. "Let's get out of here." But before they could move, a door slammed shut behind them, the force of it shaking the entire building. The sound echoed through the empty halls. And then, through the silence, came a soft voice, barely audible but clear enough to send chills down their spines. "Get out." The voice wasn't human. Lexi grabbed her camera, her hands trembling. She tried to steady herself, but the image on the screen flickered, showing static where there should have been a hallway. The group exchanged nervous glances, their hearts pounding in their chests. As they turned to leave, a cold breath brushed past them, and in that moment, they realized they weren't alone. But it wasn't until later, when they reviewed the footage, that they realized the true horror. At the far end of the hall, a figure clear, human-shaped, and unmistakable appeared on the screen. But no one had seen it when they were there. The footage revealed it just standing there, staring. They had unwittingly captured something that would haunt them forever. But what was it? Was it the ghost of a soldier lost in time, or something far darker? The whispers in the walls had begun, and it wasn't over yet. The hotel felt different now. What started as a curiosity had transformed into an insidious presence, something they couldn't shake. The whispers, the chilling breath, the shadow in the hallway. None of them could ignore the feeling that the hotel was alive with something darker, something that wanted them to leave. After reviewing the footage, they all sat in the dimly lit lobby, unsure of what to do next. "We have to go back," Lexi said, her eyes burning with determination. "The 13th floor? We need to know what's up there." Ashton looked visibly nervous. "We can't even get to the 13th floor," he said. "The elevator skips it. How are we supposed to?" Before he could finish, a loud bang echoed from the hallway, followed by the distinct sound of footsteps. Lexi jumped to her feet, camera in hand. "There's no one out there," Ashton said, voice trembling. He walked to the hallway and peered into the dark. Then the elevator doors suddenly opened, the lights inside flickering erratically. The hallway felt colder, as though something was watching them. Every sound seemed amplified each breath, each footstep. Even the faint hum of the hotel's broken pipes seemed to echo louder. "Guys, we need to go," Ashton urged, but Lexi was already walking toward the staircase. "The 13th floor," she said. "We're going. I don't care what's up there." They took the stairs, the cold air growing heavier with each step. As they ascended, the air seemed thicker, suffocating. Lexi's camera flickered, and for a moment, the screen went black. When it returned, there was a distortion like something moving just out of frame. Suddenly, the staircase felt impossibly long. The further they climbed, the darker it became. The 13th floor was supposed to be off limits, but something pushed them forward. And when they finally reached the top of the stairs, they found the door to the 13th floor wide open. But it wasn't just the door that startled them, it was the smell. The heavy, suffocating stench of cigar smoke mixed with decay. Stepping inside, they found the floor eerily quiet. It was as if the air itself was holding its breath. The hallway stretched before them, long and empty. But that wasn't what terrified them. It was the sound of footsteps of slow, deliberate pace, as if someone or something was walking toward them. In the distance, a shadow moved across the hallway, its outline unmistakable. A figure in a fedora, just like the one described by those who had come before them. "Who's there?" Lexi whispered, but the answer was silence. Then, the sound of the footsteps grew louder. With each step, the temperature dropped. The walls, cracked and peeling, seemed to breathe with an unnatural rhythm. Lexi raised her camera, but the screen flickered again, and when it cleared, the figure was gone. They turned to leave, but the door slammed shut behind them. They were trapped, and that's when they heard Ida's voice, low and menacing, echoing in the darkness. "Get out." As weeks passed, the strange occurrences became even more intense. The once peaceful country house had transformed into a war zone of her mind. She stopped inviting friends over, too terrified to bring anyone into her haunted home. The activity increased, making Jennifer question her sanity. The voices were louder now. They weren't just whispers anymore. They were full conversations, like distant arguments or hushed, frantic whispers in the other rooms. And the music old, twangy country tunes blared from nowhere. The TV was always off, but the sounds filled the space around her like a ghostly orchestra. Jennifer knew she couldn't keep living like this. It wasn't just the terrifying sounds. It wasn't just the feeling of being watched, the scent of Old Spice, or the violent pushes that sent her tumbling down the stairs. It was the unrelenting dread that never left her, the feeling that the house was alive in ways that no one could understand. The breaking point came one night when Jennifer awoke to find a figure standing in her bedroom. It was dark, almost a shadow in the shape of a man. She could barely make out its features, but its presence was unmistakable. It was taller than her, looming in the corner, watching her. Her blood ran cold as she stared at it, unable to move, unable to scream. The figure remained there for what felt like an eternity before disappearing into the air. She could hardly believe what she had just seen, and that's when she knew her dream home was no longer hers. It was theirs. Terrified, Jennifer turned to her boyfriend, Sean, to help her make sense of the horror. But the more they uncovered, the more they realized that the house was haunted by something far darker than they could have imagined. Sean moved in with her, hoping his presence might offer some protection. But it wasn't enough. Strange things began to happen. Objects would shift when they weren't looking. Doors would slam without cause, and the temperature would drop without warning. It felt as though the house was conspiring against them, pushing them to their breaking point. The tipping point came when Jennifer felt a violent shove at the top of the stairs. She was knocked forward, tumbling down the stairs once again. But this time, it wasn't an accident. It was intentional. Someone was after her. By the time they realized they could no longer stay in the house, it was too late. The force was relentless. The only way to escape was to leave. And leave they did. As Jennifer and Sean walked away from the house for the final time, they realized that the spirits of the past still lingered. The house was sealed, but the terror it held would never be fully contained. And as the doorbell rang 3 times on Halloween night every year, they knew the house would never truly be empty. If this story haunted you, the next one will keep you awake. Hit subscribe if you dare.